Hey everyone, it's Martin and I am here in the Popverse. It is New York Comic Con 2025. All sorts of fantastic things are going on and it is day one. So everybody has already been piling in here and doing all of the cosplays, seeing Artist Alley, checking out all the vendors, all the great shows. But for me, I am fortunate enough that I get to be here today and talk with Steve Burns. For the folks that are fans from multiple generations across what he has been doing and talking about, he needs no introduction. So I am very fortunate to be here today to be able to get to spend some time with you and talking about where you are now and where you're going next with the podcast. So Steve, welcome to the Popverse.
Well, thank you. Where I am now is Jacob Javits Center in New York City, where I used to live in New York City for 27 years of my life. So it's a bit of a homecoming every time I come here. Yeah, we just did our first day of signing stuff and meeting all the fans.
Yeah.
So my voice is trashed, so I apologize. I'm glad that I'm on a microphone.
You had a great line of folks that showed up today.
Yeah, we were pretty busy. You know, it's always great to meet the fans because I shot Blue's Clues on a blue screen, and I spent my entire career imagining them. Mm-hmm. And it's why I enjoy these things. To me, it just feels like, oh, it's so great to finally meet you in person.
Yeah. When was the first time where you actually got out and kind of saw the number of people that were fans and people who you had either, you know, with their children or they were children who had grown up? When did you finally kind of feel like, wow, there's an audience, there's a big bunch of people that really have seen what I've done?
There was a viral video during the pandemic that I released that got a huge response that surprised me. I didn't expect that or know that there was that even resonance for Blue's Clues out there. Certainly not for me. And I did a Comic-Con in Utah, and I remember my agent said, you have to do a panel. I said, what's a panel? You're like, well, you know, people listen and ask questions about you and the show. I said, there's not going to be anybody there. You know, it's going to be a depressing moment. And the place was packed. And I was like, what is happening? You know,
Yeah.
And the whole thing has been a surprise to me.
Yeah.
So, continually.
Excellent. I love the fact that that you're at a place where you get to see all of these folks again who either had kids or they themselves were kids that have been able to kind of express that. That's not always a thing that fans necessarily get to do, and a lot of times that doesn't always come back to the fans, the fact that the thing that they appreciate, the person that they appreciate actually feels that. And I think that's been a really important aspect of you as a person and a personality out there, is that a lot of the fans get to actually feel your response.
You know, it's always interesting to me because when we started the conversation with those fans, they were 3 and I was, I don't know, 21 or something. And now they've grown up. But what I don't think they realize is so did I. You know, there's been a lot of growth for both Steve and the fans, I think.
Yeah.
I hope in that 25 years, you know, and we're much more like peers now, you know, because we're all just adults.
Right.
And so that there's a whole different way of relating that feels much more natural to me, honestly.
And now that they're adults, you're continuing that conversation on. That's, I mean, almost quoting you, that's kind of where the podcast is now, of being able to elevate things to more of an adult conversation and to continue it on. So when you say that and you talk about this next phase and you have the podcast, what does that mean to you to keep the conversation going?
Well, I just think it's an opportunity. I mean, for whatever reason, whatever accident, I seem to have this connection through media through a camera specifically, I guess, to make this connection, and that connection seems to have been durable across these decades, and it just seemed like an opportunity that I wanted to make good use of in some way.
Yeah.
And the podcast is kind of how I thought how we could simply scale the dialogue. Instead of shapes and colors, now it's death, sex, and taxes, you know. But the contours are exactly the same. You know, it's you and me dealing with the important stuff, leading an examined life, asking good questions, looking for clues and bits of information that lead to greater understanding, and then we sit down and think about it together. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's really important and really special that you've done this, because a lot of people who have important platforms or who have very large audiences, a lot of times give themselves over so much so that they don't necessarily recognize that their platform could be used for good or have a particular voice that continues to extend the type of education, learning, or empathy that could be had out there, because they've given such a large portion of themselves, because everything that you have right now feels so personal and so given over that I think it's important to note that because it's personal. It very much feels like you and not a character, or that there's an expectation that you be a character. I think people want to see you and participate in that.
I think people want to see other people. I think that people are ready to connect with media in a way that is much more human than it has been. You know, we look at Instagram, that's all compare and despair, and everyone's branding themselves into these sort of avatars of non-reality in a lot of ways. And literally everybody's doing that. And so this technology, the result of that is that this technology that was supposed to bring us together in community has actually isolated us and made us, and depersonalized each other and made us weird. And I do sense, I don't know if you do, but I do sense that people are kind of ready to connect on a more human level. And that's all I'm trying to do is, you know, I always say the celebrity guest on my podcast is you in every episode, right? Because Blue's Clues was always about you.
Yeah.
And that's what the podcast is trying to do. And that's on purpose. That's by design, because if I have a point at all with doing it, it's to be mindful of the fact that there's always a human being on the other side of the screen. Like always. And that means that if you are simply a tiny comment in a dog pile of negativity in the comment section, you're actually affecting a human soul on the other side of that. And you can be part of an aggregate of harm. But the good news is, if that's possible, that means the opposite is possible.
Right.
You know, and I just think it's simpler than that too. I think that if we all showed up a little bit more to the internet as full people, it'll be less fun to be a dick all the time. You know what I mean? I think it is that simple. And so, am I being more myself on this thing? Yeah. But I don't see the podcast as being about me so much as it is about, it's not about individuals, it's about big subjects, I guess.
So with that, do you feel that you are also striving for a connection with people as much as anyone in the audience wants to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I am I'm a notoriously an aloney sandwich who literally lives off-grid, halfway up a mountain by himself in the Catskills.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of solitude in my life that I've chosen, and that is important to me and that I enjoy. And I do think that this is maybe misplaced intimacy, misplaced connection. I think it probably is. connecting to a camera is the one thing I have 10,000 hours at because of the kid show I used to do.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that, if I were to psychoanalyze myself, I'm sure there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
But who cares?
A lot of people care. So.
Well, but I'm more interested in the thing than I am in me doing it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, and the Catskills is a really good choice. I think if I'm getting my geography correct, the Esopus River that runs back out of there, and I fly fished that a couple of times. Not very big fish, but just pure
brownies,
joy.
Little
and it's
brownies.
such absolutely, and just a nice place. That's a really great. There's that the old train trestles that used to run through there, and so there's all sorts of great access to hit the river along the Esopus.
I gotta tell you, man, I've tried some fly fishing up there, and I've been okay at it.
Yeah.
I've also used worms and bobbers and caught the exact same brownie.
Yeah, it's a matter of there's just something about the process of fly fishing
beautiful.
that I like, and it's not always about the catch. There's just, I love tying my own flies, and not all, but many of the fly rods that I have, I've built myself. So
No
there's,
kidding.
yeah,
That's cool.
there's a little aspect of that. So
Oh,
this is not about me on this.
Yeah. No, where I am, I don't want to say exactly where I am, but
sure.
I'm kind of near the east and west branches of Delaware, and there's really, really good, people come from all over the place to catch these little brown trout that are up there.
I've never hooked into a brown like that before, but it's beautiful, beautiful country up in there. So, well, let's talk more about Alive and the podcast. We'll kind of round out everything with that because you just premiered September 17th, if I remember right, and one of the episode that I have seen excerpts from in conversation is you with Jamie Lee Curtis. Mm-hmm. And personally, I think she's wonderful.
Yeah.
So myself growing up, Jamie Lee Curtis was always a movie star that I saw in a lot of different roles. And there was this transition, though, that happened with True Lies.
Yeah.
And it was not just her performance, but it was everything that happened with her after that with promoting it, because there was a lot of age discussion that was starting to happen. There were moments where the media wasn't being very good, and Jamie Lee Curtis stood up and demanded attention and respect, and it was so well done.
I don't remember that, but that tracks.
And because of that elevated Jamie Lee Curtis to me at a place where it's like, basically, yes, she became this badass person that I followed in a big way. So so let's talk about Alive, and maybe talk a little bit about that episode with Jamie and how you got to, I don't know if you know Jamie prior to this, or?
I've known Jamie for a while, because back when I was in children's media, she was a tireless advocate for children's health. She still is, and she's always been like that. I mean, she would just say, "You will do this for my pediatric AIDS event, and that's what's going to happen." And you'd say, "Yes, of course, that's what's going to happen." And, and she's just always been supportive of me. I think she's like that with a lot of people. I think she's
very much so.
Yeah, but in terms of the podcast, Alive is not a celebrity-driven podcast, and I wouldn't, I think celebrities are awesome, and sometimes that's a really interesting interview. But with her, I wanted it to be about more than the fact that she's a huge celebrity. I wanted it to be about, she's someone with more eyeballs on her than almost anyone else, and yet she moves through media and scrutiny with a level of ballast, a level of human groundedness that is uncommon, I think. And
I would agree.
And there's kind of a ferociousness to her in a way that I think is instructive. I'm sure she would hate that I said that, but I think it is. At least I wanted to know about it, because I think it relates to an emotional response that we're all having in this moment of all being online, all being visible all the time. And I just wanted to ask her, you know, like, do you really not give a shit about all this? And I expected her to say, no, I don't care, but she didn't. She said, yeah, of course I do.
Yeah.
Which is the real response, you know, which is the actual human response. But what she said was, it's about curating the shits that you give. And I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And yeah, so that's what that was about. But we ended up talking about her kids' books, which I love, and just being an artist and yeah, and being where your feet are. And she was great. She's always great to talk to.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for this. I really appreciate your time in all of this. And, you know, I do agree with you. I think that people are yearning for something, and I think we're in a moment. And I hope it's okay to say that you're kind of one of those flagships that's out there, and you're very much appreciated.
Well, you can find it on YouTube, Live with Steve Burns, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And, you know, it's different in that there are a gajillion podcasts for you to go and listen to, but this is one that listens back for real. In the same way that Blue's Clues would ask you for help, this one asks what you're thinking. And it allows silence in space to be heard. So check it out, y'all.
Please do check it out. That's pretty special. Those are rare commodities in this time.
I think, you know, in the way the current internet works, listening is a radical thing, and silence is a rare experience. So check it out.
Well, with that, I'm going to leave it on a good moment of silence, and I'm going to thank you for being here. Yeah, take care.
Thank you.